for learning lunch today. Really appreciate all of you being here and participating in this. It's good for all of us to get together, I think. Today we have two presenters. First is Shirley Evans. She's an investigative agent here at the County Board, and Ann Dunbar, who is our intake coordinator. And they are going to talk about abuse and different things related to that. So I will let them take over.
Does everyone feel the effects of Friday the 13th and the full moon coming up? Friday. All in one day. Oh no. Starting to happen here. I can tell you that some different stranger things are starting to come. So I don't know how many you believe in that, but the Earth's gravity is pulling on something and it's not doing that well. Thank you all for coming today. For those who don't know me, I'm Shirley Evans.
I'm Ann Dunbar.
And I appreciate you signing up. Did you sign up and then find out what the topic was, or sign up knowing what the topic was? So you signed up still wanting to come, knowing what the topic was? Yes, we appreciate that.
It's kind of a downer.
I said no one's going to come and listen to us about this.
I know, like who wants to listen to an hour about abuse, you know?
But it's really, really important that you are here. All of you are the eyes and ears and voice of the people that we serve. So it is critical that you guys are aware of what could or can be happening around you while you're working or in the community. We're first going to show a video, and then we'll have a small discussion about it. We have a quiz, not on the video. It's an awareness quiz. We're going to review it so you do have the right answers. No one's going to score it or test it except for you. And then we're going to talk about some of the causes and contributing factors of the abuse or neglect or other things such as that occurring. Does that sound good for everybody? And keep eating. And we're going to make this as informal as we can. We do have some good information for you, so thank you again for coming. So we're going to play.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Since he showed you. Click open. Open with, yeah.
Media player?
Yeah, media player.
Windows media?
Yeah. There we go.
He was really pale. He was gray, and then he vomited on himself.
I noticed that he was holding himself up off of his wheelchair. She said, Myrna, he smells like something dead. He was covered in feces and urine. He was thin. He was gaunt.
As we were going through the doors into the emergency room, people were turning their head and gagging.
The first thing they did was a 5-hour surgery.
You know, I was told that he was given a 15% chance of survival.
And what they discovered was he had gangrene on his genitals. This house where Rusty lived for so many years is the stuff it's the stuff of nightmares. It's how they might create a set for a horror film. It is not a place where people live. It is not a place where people love. It is not a place where people care.
I had learned that he'd been being slapped across the face. I had learned that he'd been verbally assaulted on a very regular basis.
They would actually deny Rusty access to his chair and his crutches because he had displeased them in some way. Consequently, he had to crawl. He had to crawl like another animal.
He had chores around the house, and if he didn't get them done quick enough, they would withhold food from him.
What bothered me the most was the pallet where he slept, because it was dirty and stained and smelled of urine. That's like concentration camp kind of stuff.
When I walked up to the house today, I felt pure disgust. I felt remorse for the fact that this very house sits, and we passed by it, and we never reached into it.
People with disabilities are being abused. It's prevalent. It's in every little town in Missouri. It's in every metropolitan area. You're fooling yourself if you think it's not happening. They're afraid. That's the whole thing, is they're afraid because of the situation that they're in, that there's nobody going to help them. I think as a society, we all have a responsibility to protect each other. I don't like it when people with developmental disabilities get abused. It is my business. It's your business. It's our business. It is such a joy to see Rusty today. He comes into work, he's smiling. He finally gets to be the kind of person that he deserves to be. And for that, I'm very thankful.
Rusty's a hero, his own hero. And hopefully he's a hero for more people living like him.
Tell him my story, because I want nobody to go through what I went through.
He survived because people spoke up. To me, that's proof that we can make a difference.
God bless you.
Thank you. Okay, sorry to start out with something that kind of sad, but anybody have any thoughts?
It was. I said they
I
trying
know.
to make me cry.
I know.
I can't
It's
watch
okay.
it. I have to step out. I
It's very
can't watch
sad.
it.
It's
Yeah.
very sad. This gentleman lived in Missouri, and a lot of folks, when they see this, are like, "Well, we're glad that has never happened in this community," and it has. We had an individual being held hostage in a home here in Lima for about 20 years. He was beaten, sexually assaulted, her money was stolen. This person weighed about 82 pounds, and she was found and lived all of those things. Her living situation was this person slept on a bare mattress, was denied food, was routinely and physically abused. She was forced to sign checks over every month and live like that, we think, for about 20 years before someone spoke up and we found her. We hear it in the news about it happening in Cleveland, and it happens in here, and it happens there, and it happens here. It happened here. That's not the only story like that here either. That is probably one of the worst, but there are others very similar to that this story that have happened here in Lima, Ohio. Many times it's because people are afraid to report because they think, oh, what if it's really not what I think it is? Am I going to get in trouble? And that's not true. I've been an investigator here for 18 years now, and no one has ever gotten in trouble for reporting something of concern that was not fabricated, like they didn't lie about it and made it up. Nobody's ever been sued. Nobody's got in trouble for picking up the phone or coming in or reporting their concerns about people. So keep that in mind. I think that's a pretty long record, 18 years of nobody ever getting in trouble. Anne indicates she is driven by that house. We all probably have, that this person had come out of and had no idea what was going on in there.
Lots of times, been in the neighborhood, I've mown more times than I can count, and never knew what was going on. You never know what's going on in anybody's home as you're driving around, and this neighborhood was not like, oh, that's a part of town where, sometimes bad things happen.
Would the
there.
janitor please call extension
It wasn't
2092?
like that. And for, you know, for that to be occurring all this time, you know, and no one saying anything. It's pretty shocking.
With this, she's survived and she's thriving. She's obviously has some trauma issues, like we all would or do have, but she is thriving.
Yeah, she's my hero.
She's, yeah,
Finally reported.
It ended up being some family members, and, you know, I told the story recently, and I still look back on that, and I feel that day, like that day that I came into Shirley's office, that some family members came to our office and said, we think our family member is being held hostage.
those
Like,
words.
yes. And I'm like, what? Like hostage? Like, really? I'm like, well, we've kind of heard this, and we think they might be over here in this neighborhood, and we think it might be these people, and, you know, but we think, we haven't seen her for years, but we hear other people have told us that they've seen blah, 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 and I'm like, wow, you know, and this is a family we'd worked with for a long time here, and they kind of came out of the blue and said this, and so my first reaction was like,
Would the janitor please come to the front lobby?
You
Would
know.
the janitor please come to the front lobby?
yeah,
Overly dramatic.
right.
Because I probably rolled my eyes and like, yeah, okay, hostage.
Yeah. So Shirley's office kind of catacornered from mine. I'm like, just a minute. So I go over and I'm like, Shirley, can you come in here? We're, you know, talking to a family. This is what they're saying. And so what we ended up deciding from that time that they came in was part of our job. If we get a and we'll talk about this a little later. We work pretty closely with law enforcement, adult protective services, children's services, crime victim services. We have kind of a collaborative where if a report of abuse, neglect, you know, anything like that, where the victim may have a developmental disability, and those agencies will get a report, they call us and vice versa. We all kind of work together. And so when this family came and reported this, our go-to is we would go out and do a home visit. And if we were a little unsure about the situation, we call LPD and they meet us there. And we go to the house and kind of see what's what. And we had sort of an idea of a neighborhood where this might be happening. And so we ended up going, and the first time we went it was a house that, it was not the house, but as, I don't know if it was Friday 13th, as luck was on our side that day, where a person who actually did reside in the house where this person was being held approached us and said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't know that person, but
we're not holding her hostage.
yeah.
Those were the words used.
Yes, he used those words, and we both went,
Snap. I watched Snap, so
yeah, yeah, we were like,
you just
We're
told
like,
yourself.
where will be back?
You know.
We'll be back.
Right.
And we went back, we gave it a week, we said, here's our card, if this person doesn't call us, we're coming back. So we came back, and we had the police chief with us, Chief Martin. He was part of our collaborative. They tried to tell us some story about this person just, I keep saying she, so you know it's a she, left in a cab. So Chief Martin calls the cab company. No calls for a cab there. And about 5 minutes later, this person comes walking out the door looking like an Auschwitz survivor. Fortunately, this person chose to go with us. She would have been removed anyway, but she wanted to leave. And the reason she gave us initially
Can I please have a custodian to the front office, please? A custodian to the front office?
is she was tired of sitting on the floor and wanted to sit in a chair. So, we don't have her story up here right now, kind of to protect her. The perpetrators are still in the community, and so is she. So, not having her identity and the whole details out there is protecting her right now. So, we wanted you to know, though, that it's just not always somewhere else. It's here. There's an abuser registry held by the state of Ohio. And they're, that's part of the quiz.
Yes.
There's a bunch of people on the abuser registry from Ohio only. So we're gonna pass out an abuse awareness quiz. Do your best. You can
Yeah, you can
get
work together, talk about it.
It's not that critical, but we'll come up with a Anybody have any questions about the video or anything like that that we talked about before we go further?
It's just an evaluation form.
Can I have one of your evaluation forms?
Do we put our name on here?
No, you don't.
No.
We're not, you're not trying
Okay.
It's not that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take it if you get it.
Okay.
No, she doesn't.
So we use a local.
Oh, my God, I didn't see it.
Maybe I didn't
Glad
practice.
They pay $50.
Well, yeah, I had to give them that.
ID?
Yeah.
This will show you here. This was my year.
I will. Okay, great.
It is.
How much is it?
Did you know this is my niece?
No.
Yes.
So don't ever talk bad about her.
She's my goddaughter.
I'm gonna watch her have bad back in front of certain people.
Yes, her mom and her sisters.
Yeah. I love your new hairdo too. It's super cute.
Ashton, I would never be mean to you. You're the only one
Yeah,
here currently.
yeah.
You did be nice to him, man.
And, you would return the favor, so. Right.
Come to our garage sale?
Absolutely. And we have an all staff this Saturday, so that's why I grabbed this to let them know.
Oh, you should see our crowd.
You should
see it. It's not a disaster. It's organized.
It's chaotic.
Yes.
It's an organized mess.
Did you out there? No, I didn't. Oh, yeah, me too. Felt like I was, and I got, yeah, you know, making stuff here. We can do that today. Yep.
The Bluffton bus is out front for unloading.
Thank you.
You didn't ask me, but you got
He's probably back.
Hey, that's mom. This is your mom.
It's a good thing.
He was like, you know, didn't quite know what to do, so.
At first. In one sleigh.
So he went out to.
Yeah, I'm serious about it.
I know, I would've done.
Yeah, that stuff we did this Saturday, so. Push that in, the chicken barbecue, just for him.
It's fun to look.
It is fun to look at stuff. I like to.
And it came with like a.
Did you see the new playground at Lincoln Park?
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, it's really cool. Oh my gosh. I'll have five and I remember, and I so remember all that.
Yeah, I know that, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That little one. Me too. Even though he's as tall as that. Crazy.
Right, no, yeah.
Are you guys about done?
More than
Most of them answered?
I agree.
Okay. All right, we'll go through the answers and we'll see how you did. Okay, the first one, true or false?
True.
Okay. Number 2, true or false? What's that?
She was gonna say true.
You're gonna say true. How many were true?
I had true.
I was false.
How many were false? Okay, people are like, oh wait, no, I don't think that's what I did, but yeah. Persons with cognitive disabilities have a higher risk of violent victimization than persons with any other type of disability. That is true. People with disabilities are one of the most harmed groups in the U.S. Yep. People who abuse, neglect, and exploit persons with disabilities are actually known by the victim and most often family members and care providers. True. Yep. Okay. Percent of victims who suffered abuse on multiple occasions. 100? 70? 98? 95. See, you know, when we did that, we did this quiz with the county board staff that are all staff in service last week, and the numbers were a little lower than that. I think people were kind of thinking it wasn't. I think you all being in the field and being on the front lines and serving individuals directly, maybe you see a little more than the average person sitting behind the desk. So you're right, it is 90%, so very high. 90%. Percent of people with DD who are abused more than 20 times. Yes? Nope, it's a little less than that.
50? I put 50.
50? 20? 60? 57. All about right there. Percent of people with DD who are abused too many times that they lost count. A little lower than that.
I put 50.
98.
46. 46%.
And in a little bit, no, 57, 40 what?
If you were a person with a developmental disability, how many times would you want to be abused?
0.
0. Sure. Okay. People with cognitive disabilities were how many times more likely to be victims of violent crime than the general population? So this would be like 2 times, 10 times, how many more likely? 8 times more likely? 7? 4 times more likely. So still quite a bit. Okay. Most frequent locations of abuse and why? Home, community. Where at in the home? Bedroom? Any others? Bathroom? I heard something else. Basement? Attic. What's that? Attic, maybe. It's kind of like away from others. They call it the 3 Bs. Bathroom, bedroom, basement. So you guys got them right. And the last one is laundry. For a variety of reasons. As you well know, a lot of intimate care takes place in bathrooms and bedrooms. Basements are away from others. Some of these rooms, like bathrooms, have showers. Laundry rooms have, washers and dryers, loud noises to mask if there is abuse taking place. So that's why those seem to happen more often in those places. What type of employee reports abuse the least often?
And abuse of scary people.
Abusers?
That's scary people.
It's funny, people who abuse don't feel like they're abusers sometimes. Any others?
Scary people.
Scary people? Seasoned, long-term employees are the least likely to report as opposed to new employees. Yes. Any guesses why? Sometimes when you're a new employee coming into a new environment, sometimes you're in a new environment and maybe you don't realize like, hey, this is how they always do it. And you're like, wait a minute, you always do things like that? Is that really the way, you know, they recognize those things? Because sometimes when you're in a situation and you're like, this is
Like
sort of
new
the-
hire, like.
yeah, new hires, coming in new, like,
Not, okay.
yeah, like maybe if something has always been done that way, kind of a traditional way of doing it, we've always done it, this is how everyone, this is how this home works, or this is how everyone gets treated here, or we do this. Sometimes that, if you just always do it that way, sometimes you may not recognize that it's maybe getting close to the line of abuse at times, okay? All right, how many people, Shirley almost let it slip, how many people are on the abuser registry? Thousands, plural, in Ohio. 10? Okay.
How many put?
110?
She put 5.
Any other guesses?
What do you mean by in the range of 10?
Like it, whatever the number is, it means it's either less than 10 or more than 10 than the number you guess. Well, as of last Friday, it was 944. And just within like a few days, they add a few more
And
every
there's, I
time.
think, 12 people from Allen County on it.
12.
So are they like on their lifetime? Why-
Minimum of 5 years. The abuser registry, and the nurses registry is checked before you're employed. If your name is on the nurses aid registry or the abuser registry, providers are not allowed to hire you. So after 5 years, you can apply to be taken off of it. Our county board, people that work here don't have anything to do or decide. We don't recommend or don't recommend people for their abuser registry. All substantiated cases of abuse, neglect, theft, prohibited sexual relations, exploitation are reviewed by, and failure to report are reviewed by DOD, and they determine who may be reviewed further for the abuser registry. It's a legal process, it's just not a, hey, we think that person in, we don't. It's a legal process with legal representation, because we're taking, we as a system are taking away their livelihood, so it's very serious. Yes?
Is that abuser registry national?
I don't know how many states have it or not. Ours is by state. Some states don't have them. But anybody, just so you know, it's public record. You can go onto the DOD website, look under abuser registry, and it shows you the 944 people. It does not obviously give client names. It'll tell you like what category they were put
Like
on.
why
Yeah,
they
like-
were put on these,
Like
like
it'll say
physical abuse.
Joe
or-
Smith, abuse,
Mhm.
physical abuse. Sue Smith, neglect. Those are the kinds of things that you can see, so, yes.
My question was just, if it's a national system, is there like reciprocity with each of the states?
Unfortunately, no.
That was.
That would be nice, because people move.
And staff
You know?
we live close to Indiana, and I know we've had some staff go over there, because it's still close enough, which is unfortunate, because I don't believe they check our registry. Good questions, thank you.
And there's, you know, people from all realms in the DD, all kinds of DD professionals on this list. It isn't just direct care, it's, you know, it could be, you know,
Directors, program specialists.
yeah, program specialists. There's an SSA for failure to report on the abuser registry.
So if someone applied for employment here at the county board, would you only check Ohio's registry, or would you check Ohio and surrounding areas?
Well, there's a difference between a background check and registry check. I know they have different criteria for the BCI and the FBI checks, so those are done no matter what. But I believe if you're being hired here, they only check the Ohio registries. Because I don't know how many states, I'll have to look that up, how many states actually have registries. Because I think it's becoming more and more popular, but it's a big system to put in place and a lot of money to do it, which obviously is very worth it, but I'm not sure how many do. You know, all states have different board systems serving people. Ann can tell you how many different systems from different states she's worked with, and they're all a little bit different.
They are. Ohio is the only one that I found that has a county system. Like each county has its own board. Most of the others have like a region, like they serve a group of 5 or 6 counties, or a Northwest this or Southwest that. So I rather like the local, like we have local control, we have local dollars, we can make local decisions about the people who live here in our community, where when it's region, you can't really do that. So. Okay, Sue, did you have a question?
Yeah, I know in a case of someone that worked, be careful, in our agency, and it was deemed it was abuse. However, because there weren't any consequences, it didn't go on the registry. I mean, because there wasn't any physical thing. So that person could just pick up and go to another agency.
Yes, and it
would
happens
be
all the
on
time.
there, and it happens all the time.
All the time.
So they just label it some sort of misconduct? Or
No,
They just let it go.
as an investigator, I can substantiate physical abuse. I have to have 51%, I'm sorry, I should stand up. 51% evidence that I believe that it happened. That's not very much. Like, we try to hit 80 or 90. Dean, the other investigator, and I, we really do. Because 51% is not a lot. But we have substantiated misappropriation, neglect, and abuse, and those people do not go on the abuser registry. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. Typically, they're terminated from their agencies, but they will show up at your agency. They're not on the abuser registry, and they're probably not going to tell you they were terminated from another agency and why, if that's the case. We used to have a system in place where there was a hiring process in place that staff could sign releases so we could get some of that information. I no longer do that. That helped a lot of job jumping abusers, people neglect. Sometimes, and Ann's going to get into this, sometimes when we substantiate abuse, neglect, and even theft, sometimes there's circumstances in which this isn't Freddy Krueger we're talking about. This is a really good staff that made a really bad decision. Ann's going to talk about some of the reasons some of the things happen that do, or they made a mistake and it was substantiated as neglect, but there was not an intent to neglect someone. Something happened. You know, in our world that we all work in, good people make bad decisions and make mistakes every day, myself included. Some have farther reaching consequences than others, and some affect other people more than other decisions. But it's a good thing that they have some leeway or filters to decide who goes on an abuser registry, and based on really injuries, intent, amounts of money, and the whole thing is what DOD, the Department of Developmental Disabilities, looks at when they are determining that type of list, the person being added to the list. Does that help understand some of that? It's not that it didn't happen. And what's interesting also is sometimes I see that same staff again It's a little awkward, you know? Have you ever? They're like, no, really? Well, you were here 6 months ago. Remember that, you know? So we wish there was more safeguarding.
Larry, could you come to the front office, please?
But at this point, there isn't. So Ian's up next. Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. So just to get a sense of, we should have asked when we first got started. So how many people in here are DSPs?
Support specialist, is that?
Yeah, direct support specialist or direct support professional? Okay. Are there some program specs in here? Yeah, some. Any supervisory management staff?
I just learned something different today. I didn't know. I always put SS. And she said, we are DSP. I didn't know.
Okay. All right. Am I missing anybody? Who else am I not including in the group? Is that about everybody here? Okay. All right. How many years, has anybody got more than 30 years in the DD field?
I think so.
I got 21.
Got 21? 30, yeah. Anybody 25 and more? 20 and more?
21.
Are
you including being a special needs teacher?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still in the DD field, DD professional, yeah. So are many of you newer staff or within that like first to 10 years for the most part?
I've got 9.
You've got 9? Brand spanking new.
My daughter's 21, that's why I say 21.
Oh,
She goes
okay.
to the industry. So that's fine.
Okay, all right.
I've been here 5.
Okay, all right, but you
Yeah, I've been doing it for 21.
years for a long time, yeah, so true. Okay, so kind of jumping off of what Shirley said, you know, did any of us really get into this field because we wanted to harm people?
No.
You know, many of us maybe got into this field because we had a purpose, we had a passion, we had a reason, you know, or you just like luck into it like sort of I did. I did not anticipate that this was what I was gonna do. I had a degree in something else and I kind of landed here and this is my first job out of college and I've been here over 25 years. So it's hooks in me and I thought, yes, this is what I want to do. And you know, so most people and families too, you know, caregivers, people, you know, they're oftentimes with the best of intentions want to do what's right by their family member, care for them, get them connected, you know, help them have the best life possible and be as independent as possible. And that's all our goal too. But what happens sometimes is sometimes people come into this field with the best of intentions, but due to some circumstances either going on at work or in their personal life, sometimes good people, family members, staff, you know, DD professionals of all kinds can sometimes find themselves in a bad situation. So some of the reasons that abuse occurs, either in family homes or licensed homes or whatever, any kind of caregiver situation. I'm not going to read them all to you. You guys can read them. This is something we're going to talk about a little later, but this is kind of a big one. You know, because we're all professionals in this field, you know, the expectation is that we're all behaving professionally. And sometimes we personally have experienced some stuff in our life that has caused some trauma for us. And you know, when you work with people and work in, you know, all aspects of their lives, sometimes, you know, you get in some rough situations that maybe could trigger a reaction from you of things that, you know, some people don't want someone to put their hands on their shoulders. Some people, like if they got spit in the face, their knee-jerk reaction is like that. And then it could be the best of all intentions, but if there's like a trigger, and some people have them, you know, and recognizing them and knowing what they are is really important. That kind of doing an assessment of yourself and kind of where you are. It doesn't appear to be switching. Oh,
I think we both hit it at the same time.
Oh, sorry. Okay. staff that are dealing with significant financial and emotional issues. Staff that have had some, domestic violence in their past. Sometimes in our work, we're oftentimes helping people who are experiencing a crisis, and sometimes how they respond to crisis is through physical aggression, verbal aggression, property destruction, things like that. And sometimes if you've had a situation like that in your life, that can be very traumatic for you as well. And we can't always act in the way that we want to in situations like that, because we might be dealing with our own stuff, Lack of support, not feeling like you have a network to call when you have questions or need some work-related support. Maybe the caregiver was under the influence of drugs and alcohol. And that top one, bad people seeking employment with vulnerable people. Those are the vast majority, at least in some training that I've been to, and maybe Shirley, you can let me know if I'm correct on this. There are bad people doing bad things. Like the folks that Rusty lived with, those were bad people doing bad things. Most people getting into this field are not bad people looking to abuse people, but there are some. And the people who are going in it for the right reasons, it's so imperative that when you see that, you report it, and those people are out. Staff concerned they will get in trouble if the individual doesn't do whatever their service plan is, whatever their goals are, their outcome, they need to do this, they have to do that.
Can I say something about the first one on there was staff wanting to have control. Because I know when people are trained, it's like, okay, you need to make sure this is done, and you need to make sure this is done, and you need to make sure this is done, and the house looks nice, and everybody eats for 7 people, and you're there by yourself. And we understand the challenges of the staff shortages. We hear about that every day. But this is what I try to tell the right group of folks, and it's way easier said than done because of the responsibility, which is huge, that you've been given to care for the folks and assist them. But this is the example that I use. Karen, when you break your leg and your hip and you need help coming into your house. So you hire people to do that. Does that sound familiar? We need assistance, we need some physical assistance. So I'm gonna hire, what's your name?
Brittany.
Brittany, you're gonna hire Brittany. Now, you're like, I'm hiring her to help me. So when Brittany says, Karen, your bedtime is now 7 o'clock, okay? What are you gonna say?
I don't want to, are you crazy?
Well, I'm supposed to make sure you get enough rest and get to sleep, so you have to go to bed at 7. Brittany, tell her she's gotta go to bed at 7 o'clock.
You gotta go to bed at 7.
You're crazy.
Okay. Then Brittany's like, okay, it's 7 o'clock is when you're supposed to have breakfast.
Gotta eat your breakfast at 7.
I'm not gonna be hungry.
You have to eat at 7 because that's what she was told. She has to have these things done. She's supposed to help you with breakfast, and she's got to leave at 7:30. So you're going to eat at 7. Why not?
I'm not hungry. I don't want to.
But why aren't you doing what she's telling you to do?
Because I don't want to.
Okay, because why?
Because she can't control when and what I do.
And you're going to have eggs for breakfast, even though you don't really like
I don't
eggs,
like
but that's what we got. So then we're going to tell you when you get your bath. Night's not really convenient because we're really busy getting supper, right? At what time do we need to eat?
At 7 o'clock.
So you shower in the morning. Is that good?
No.
Well, you need to shower because we don't have time at 7. You're going to shower in the morning, okay?
No.
Now, what you see where I'm getting at, obviously. And I know that's broken down simple, but that is truly what it is. All of us have been hired to assist people who need assistance. We're not hired to tell them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, what to eat, where to eat, what they're going to do, what they're not going to do. And Karen, you can't wear that shirt today. We think it's chilly. Could you put something else on? Why not?
It's hot.
Well, I think it's cold, so I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't have you wear a sweater, so put that sweater on. So, you all have done it, I've done it. We see it because we are charged with helping, assisting, and it's usually more than one person at a time. It's a lot of people. And it's stressful, and we want to control what's happening, but we forget it's their home, it's their life. Think of how you would want that to go if you had to hire someone because you broke your hip, leg, foot. You're not going to have them come into your house and tell you what to eat, when you're going to shower. You're going to tell them, I'm going to shower at 8. Will you help me shower? Of course we'll help you shower at 8. Well, could you make it a little bit at 8:30? Yep, okay, Karen's reasonable. 8:30 works because she's throwing your laundry in too. So those are the kind of conversations that we should be having more often than trying to control what we're doing and how we're helping people.
So how would you do it, like if it's cold outside and they say you're trying to encourage them to put on pants because it's cold outside and
They
they
got
want to
their
wear
flip
shorts?
flops and shorts
Yep.
on.
Yeah, so how would you say do that?
I would say, hey Karen, it's cold outside. Do you want to step out and feel how cold it is real quick? No, I'm wearing shorts. Well, someone's going to report me if I don't put pants on this person because it's cold. They're going to say, why did that staff do that? Well, I'm going to say that I reminded her it was cold, it's fall, she's going to be chilly, and she still wants to wear shorts. So I'm going to document that.
Okay.
I'm going to document. I'm not going to get in a war with her about shorts. And maybe when I drop Karen off at the old folks home, I'm going to say, I brought a pair of pants with them just in case they change their mind and want to put something warmer on. But this morning they were choosing not to. That's how I would handle that.
Okay. Yep. Makes
Does
sense.
that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
Because you want what's best for them. So you want, how many people have kids? Some of the stuff that my kids, same deal. It's cold out. Everybody's wearing shorts still, so I'm wearing shorts. It's cold out. Put some pants on. No, I'm not. So depending on what age it is, obviously, is how much control you have over your kid. But I'm not going to get in a physical fight with anybody about whether it's shorts or pants. I'll send it with them. They can choose what they want. I'm going to
If you want to wear your pajamas, you can wear your pajamas, and I'll send you
as
some
long as
clothes.
they're dressed in some fashion.
No, but sometimes with some, you have to, it's,
But I mean, as far as, you wouldn't want to send someone out naked.
No.
Obviously, because that's just a little over extreme. So anyway, I needed to throw that in because it's real.
I have one like that. I'm sorry. I have one.
I was like,
I have one, and it's rough, and it's like, but when I say, okay, you can go like that, then she changes her mind.
Yeah, you know, it's a power struggle.
Yeah, so I
sometimes.
say, you can go just like that, just put your shoes on, and eventually
send
I can get her to
something
get a
else.
shower.
Yeah.
But I've never had to send her in pajamas, but
That's a good.
I'll say, okay, you can go in your pajamas if you want.
Very good. Great question. I'm sorry, I didn't want to
No, no,
say too much about that. But I talk to people, staff, when there's issues, and when they're talking to me, a lot of staff are like, well, that was really dumb to even get into that about that, because you're able to step back, take a breath, and look at like how that looks and how that sounded. And you know, sometimes we need to ask more than once or twice, but it's really most their decision.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all right. That's good. Okay, so talk a little bit about, you know, that unintentional abuse. You know, this is something that, you know, sometimes I get calls as the intake coordinator. There'll be maybe an older couple who have a child at home, but their child is 60 and they're still caring for that individual in their home. And they are starting to experience failing health, and they're not able to care for their adult child anymore. And sometimes what could be considered neglect is going on. Are these parents neglecting their child? Is it an intentional kind of thing? Absolutely not. But sometimes, that's just one example of kind of an unintentional situation that can occur. And us as caregivers, sometimes we have situational stuff going on in our lives where we've come to work and we got a lot of personal things going on, and we're working with someone and it's just going a horrible morning, kind of like what Shirley was describing, and we sometimes snap because we're human beings. But, you know, recognizing those things about yourself are really important, and not when you're in the heat of the moment and having a really horrible day. Thinking about this kind of stuff is important when you're having a day like today, where we're all sitting around and talking about these things that actually go on day to day, and having a plan on what you're going to do about it. And the first step in the plan is being real with yourself about the stuff that triggers you, the stuff that gets on your nerves, that maybe I have a personality conflict with so-and-so, but I'm going to approach in a different way, or I'm going to take the high road because they're always taking this road down here. You know, you have to have a plan on how you're going to approach, so we don't get close to the line of abuse of people that we're working with. So these are kind of the risk factors. Like at any given time, we could be experiencing all three of these. Like my back hurts, and I'm having financial trouble, and the person I'm working with is yelling at my face because they're mad about something. All of that. And then you're like, okay, I gotta take a step back and take a breath. And how are you going to handle a situation like that? And thinking about it before you get into it, and deciding how you're gonna deal is important. So how do we deal with that? Those are really hard things. I mean, we all experience hard things in our lives, and you can't just put your baggage at the door sometimes when you're going through some really tough stuff. So what do we do about it? Sometimes we have to be a duck, which is you look calm and collected on top, but man, under the surface you are paddling like mad to keep your crap together, to get something done, sometimes that's what you gotta be. But having that self-awareness of your own, like what are you bringing to this? Like what are your gifts, your talents, the reason that you're doing this job? Focusing on things like that sometimes can help you prioritize how you're gonna approach in situations where you're feeling a little overwhelmed, okay? So, when you're coming into work, and this is true of anybody sitting in this room, myself included, figuring out what my heart is. That's what we call it. What's your heart? When you've been doing a job for a really long time, sometimes you lose sight of why you're even showing up every day. It's really important. It's really important to remember that and go back to that. Or why you showed up on your first day. Why are you here? Because I want to make a difference, because I bring this particular skill or gift or talent, or this is why I'm here. So using your heart, like why the passion of what you want to do, but also keeping a cool head. Self-control, acknowledge that you really are making a difference every day, even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes. Tell yourself, you got tools. You've had training. You know this is what you're here to do. Rely on those tools. You have some people that you trust and know that you can ask questions to. Build a support circle if you can.
Just pray as I go into work.
Pretty
Praying
much.
everybody's still breathing.
That's wonderful. Prayer is great.
I'm serious. I'm walking over on my floor, please.
Keep everybody safe today. I hope they're all breathing when I open the door.
And it's a great morning.
Okay. So taking care of yourself is really important. I mean, you can't pour from an empty cup. So you gotta recharge. You gotta refill. Our work is hard. It's hard on our part. Like Sue and I, we were just talking before it got started, and you were talking about someone you used to serve. This gal, she's passed away. I mean, she was such a sweetheart. I mean, you work with people, you develop relationships. That's hard. When you miss them, they're great, and and sometimes there's awful things that happen in the work that we do, and sometimes always being the professional up here is really hard when you're struggling with some of the hard stuff that we have to do in our work. So we got to take care of ourselves. So keeping our batteries charged. How do we do that? Because what happens when our batteries get low? We get like here. We get edgy. We, aren't running on all cylinders. We react instead of think. We don't take a step back. We don't take a breath and then decide what we're going to do. So, recharging. The 3 R's. Rest, reflect, regroup. Rest is hard when you're pulling double shifts. Rest is hard when you've got a lot of personal stuff you're dealing with, and if you try to rest, sometimes you can't because you've got a lot on your mind. The PPTs, kind of focusing on that. People, places, things. Be around people you love, in places that you love, doing things that you love. Figuring out what those are, and that goes back to that self-awareness. Because what I like and the people I like and the things I like to do are totally different than you. Knowing what those are and having those be your go-to. I'm having a rough time, I'm going to call so-and-so because she always makes me laugh, and it's going to perk me up, and I'm going to be able to get on with my day. Knowing, kind of having an out, thinking about those things ahead of time, having a plan of what those are for you. Focus on what you do well and your strengths. Everybody brings something to this, something good to what you're doing. And regroup. Maybe you kind of have to debrief with somebody you trust. Kind of talk it over and just get it out. I mean, Shirley and our offices are cat-a-corner from each other, and sometimes, something big goes down, and I'm like, Shirley, okay, all right, back to work. I just needed to, I had to unload it, And having somebody like that, an ally or a peer or a friend or whatever, if you can just get it out and then you can go on, that doesn't work for everybody, but that's just what I personally do, but, and focusing on those things are really, at least it's helpful for me. I have actually a picture of that little thing next to my phone to remind me. Okay, so trying to get your balance, which is hard to do when we have a lot of things, family, work, money, all of it. So what I'd like you to do, take one of these and just pass it down. Thank you. So just take a minute, just real quick, and kind of think about why are you doing this? What's your heart for this work? Because it's not for everybody. I mean, I'm sure we've all worked with people who've been here for a day and they're like, I'm out, I can't do it. But, we get a lot of rewards from this work too. Getting to work with some really great people, the folks that we serve, getting to help them achieve and move on and become more independent in different ways in their lives, supporting them. But, there's some pretty great perks with it too. So think about what your heart is. It could be a word. It could be like a gift that you bring. Like you feel like, I'm really good at this and this is what I try to do in my work. Or it could be like a personal mission statement or a mantra that you, like your prayer, that this is what I try to focus on today. This is what I hope to achieve today with the people I'm serving. It took me this is sometimes a hard thing to do. It took me a long time to figure out what, I have a word that I've chosen, and I'll just give it as an example. My word is understanding. Like I feel like that's my heart, that's what I bring to this. My job as intake is I'm sort of the front door when people are looking for services. So when families call, agencies call, they're like, okay, they're not calling because they just want to chat. They're looking for some help, looking to get people connected. How can we help this family, this person? And sometimes when parents and family members are calling, sometimes I'm the first person they talk to about what's going on. And it is really hard sometimes to admit that you need help. It's hard sometimes to admit that I need help taking care of my own kid because for whatever reason, I need some help either in my home or at their school or at their work or whatever. How can I get it? And you're the first person I'm talking to. And sometimes families and parents and neighbors, whoever, they're not always looking for all the answers. Sometimes they just want to tell it. Like just tell what's going on and have someone listen because they don't know if anybody really understands what they're going through. So I feel like what I want to bring is understanding. So when people call, that they have a safe place to just unload it. You can unload it, you can tell me about it. If there's something that I can think of that maybe could help, I will share with you, or sometimes. No, what's my number? But maybe you are bringing that to your work. Maybe the folks that you serve come to you because they know that you'll listen and you're not gonna judge them and say, oh, don't worry about that, that's not a big deal. You know, maybe you're bringing that. You know, you have gifts that you're bringing to the people you serve. So figuring out what that is, whether it's just a word or a phrase or whatever, and then stick it where you're gonna see it. Because sometimes when you prioritize that, it just puts it all in place. If you can figure out what I'm showing up to work to do every day, then maybe we're gonna stay more emotionally well, keep our batteries charged, so we can all provide and deliver exceptional care and service. Because that's what we're really all here for, all of us. So that's pretty much it. Thanks.